How's it going, everyone? Quick video on how I doubled the size of my back in the space of literally 1 year. If you have a look on the left here, this was about a couple of years ago, and this was 2023, mid 2023. I think if you just look at my lats here, they fucking grew, and then the upper back thickness and definition is just crazy. So what I want to do is talk you through how I did this really quickly. I will be honest, I just recorded this video a minute ago and it just failed to upload, so I've got to redo it straight away, which isn't ideal. However, it's what we do, and I'm going to go again, and I'm going to do it a little bit quicker so I don't waste too much of you guys' time. I'm going to make it a little bit more succinct. So, without further ado, common mistakes. Do you ever feel when you train your back that you don't feel you're engaging the right muscle groups? Well, the reason why is because you're not pulling through your elbows. So we're going to do a quick exercise right now. Let's do a overhand barbell row without the weight, obviously. Pretend you're doing that. Do it normally. You would just mindlessly lift it. However, now when you do it, focus on pulling through your elbow. So use your elbow as an actual hook. Now when you do that, you'll notice, and you bring it all the way back, you start to engage your upper back as the prime mover of the movement. What tends to happen is we mindlessly lift the weight, and as a result, we just get a massive bicep pump. It's a good indicator of how shit your session has been. If you come out of the gym on back day or pull day and you haven't trained biceps and you have a massive bicep pump, you've done something wrong. But you are going to get a sort of bicep pump because, it has to happen. However, if you have a massive one and you don't really feel it in your back, you know you're doing something wrong. And the thing you're doing wrong is you're not pulling for your elbows. So that's number one. If you can figure that out, if you can understand that and start to add a little bit of weight on that, you will really understand how to target the back. And as a result, it will grow a lot quicker. You just need to retract the scapula and you need to fucking use these elbows as hooks. Drag the weight back, not pull it. Drag the weight back. And you drag by using your elbows. I can explain all the little details, but honestly, if you can just remember to pull through your elbows, if you can take one thing from this video, pull through your elbows, it will change the trajectory of your back growth for the fucking rest of your life. Guarantee you that. That's number one. Second mistake, TikTok isolation exercises. Now, this exercise went around for ages. You know, the little cable pull down where you kneel down? Great exercise. Don't get me wrong. I think it's sick. Sometimes I even do it. However, I think there's a massive overemphasis on the isolation exercises that really target a certain muscle group, and everyone's forgetting about the old school compounds like your barbell rows, your T-bars, your pull-ups, your pull-downs. That is going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to get more out of the exercise, and you're going to target your whole back and therefore grow much quicker. So you can do isolation after isolation after isolation, and you'll target each individual muscle, which is great. However, that is not the play. The play is to target every single muscle all at once with the compounds, and then hit the isolations after. So do not be prioritizing these. Instead, hit your compounds and then focus on the isolation, with one exception, which I will talk about in a second. The reason we do this is to pre-exhaust the lats. So what you should be doing, like I said, pull through the elbows. Elbows are hooks. We use that to drag the weight back, not pull it. Think of it this way. You are trying to bring the elbows back and in, and you can't really do that if you're pulling, because pulling only means in one certain direction. If you're dragging, though, and you're using your elbows to do so, it becomes very, very easy. So once we've got that down, we're pulling through our elbows. You want to use a weight that then allows you to get a full range of motion. So again, let's go back to the barbell row. Let me change that. So let's do a barbell row. You're going to bring it all the way back. And then as you do that, you get that squeeze. Hold that squeeze for 2 seconds. And then don't neglect this part. Bring it all the way down. And then really stretch at the end. That's the full movement you want. You're getting the most range of motion. I think a lot of guys neglect that stretch at the end. And your goal is just to start off doing that with a little bit of a lighter weight. Once you do that and you've got that down, then start progressing the weight and try and add on as much weight as possible to the bar with that exact form, replicating that exact movement. If you can do that, you will get the full range of motion. And as a result, you will target your back in a much better way, which will help your growth much quicker. Now, targeting every single part of the back equally. So I think a lot of guys don't know what they're training. They just think of lats. And I used to be the same. I had no idea what each muscle was. I did BTEC sport school and they taught us every single muscle group, but I've forgotten. All right. I think off the top of my head, there's the lats, rhomboids, teres major, trapezius, all of this. But the point is, it's too confusing. So what you should be doing is targeting every single part of the back equally, not just your lats. And there's a very simple way to do this. I'm going to break it down for you right now. It's what I do with my programming. It's how I set my workouts and teach everyone. I'm going to teach you the exact way I do. So, targeting all muscles, like I said, stop thinking of lats, rhomboids. It gets confusing. No one actually knows what does what. There is only upper, mid, and lower back. I will show you right now. This up here, the rear delts and the traps, upper back. Here, lats, mid back. This little section here, lower back. That's all you're going to target. You target these via different hand grips. So, back to the barbell row. If we do an overhand, pull back, what happens? You feel it in your traps, your rhomboids, your upper back, basically. Now, change your grips to underhand. What happens? You feel it in your mid back, your lats. So, there's a common theme here. If you do anything with an overhand grip, whether that's overhand pull down, overhand pull ups, you're going to target upper back and you're going to get that nice and thick. If you focus on an underhand grip, you're going to target the mid back and you're going to target your lats. That will basically get you wider. So any underhand grip is going to get you that width, and any overhand grip is going to get you that thickness and definition up here. That's what you want to think of. Now you can do neutral grips where you're holding it to the sides, whether you're holding it like this, and that's going to get a bit of a mixture of both. But your goal is to bias either side so you get a nice, well-defined, rounded back. That's the simple way to break it down. Now, let's implement this. I'm going to show you my exact training split. I want you to steal this. This is modeled off Dorian Yates's current back or past back routine. If you don't know who he is, look him up. 6 times Mr. Olympia, probably has one of the best fucking backs in bodybuilding history. And this is his exact split pretty much. Now, I'll break it down. Cable pullovers. We do this to start with, and I know I'm going back on what I said about isolation compound exercises to start with. This is an isolation. However, it pre-exhausts the back. It's the only muscle that pre-exhausts your, the only workout that pre-exhausts your lats, the only exercise. And as a result, cable pullovers should be a staple at the start of your routine. The reason why is because it won't engage your bicep and it won't engage your forearm and any other muscle group. Therefore, it will pre-exhaust it for the rest of the session, which means when you come to do all of these exercises, your lats will be pre-exhausted. So you know, and this is a bit hard to get your head around, but trust me, you know that when you do all of these exercises and you take them to failure, the reason you have hit failure is because your lats have given out. Why? Because they've been pre-exhausted. It's why we sometimes do leg extensions at the start of our workouts before we do squats, because if we then do squats, we know that because we've destroyed the quads are going to be what's giving out during the squat, if that makes sense. It's a little bit hard to understand, but the point is pre-exhaust using cable pullovers. Then go into an underhand pull down. This is all going to target your lats, your mid back. Then we'll go for a barbell row, overhand. That's going to target the upper back. Seated row. Now, this all depends on what you want to do. There's so many ways to do it. If you take a neutral grip, that's going to get a mixture of both. Maybe that's the best play. For me, I've gone for an underhand sort of row. Well, not an underhand. So basically, if you were to do a neutral row, if you do that now, you would feel that in your mid back, your lats. So that's what I want to do because I've got a decent amount of upper back work here. So I want to target that. Whereas maybe your upper back is not quite pronounced yet. So if that's the case, you can go for a kind of rear delt row where you're overhand here and then you're pulling back like that. It really depends on what your physique looks like, the proportions, and that's what you've got to figure out with yourself. Like, what are you lacking at? So that's something to be a bit wary of. But next, we've got our reverse flies, reverse cable flies. So that's all going to target your rear delts. I classify that as upper back. I train the rear delts on back day because it is a part of your back, all right? They make it really pronounced. And then after that, we've got deadlifts and hyperextensions. That's going to target your lower back. I personally don't do deadlifts, and you can probably see that with my lower back, to be honest. My lower back isn't very pronounced. However, they are really good exercises. The only reason I don't do them is just because I do a lot of RDLs on my leg day, and I feel like doing both in such a short space of time really just destroys my lower back, and I kind of need that for all my other compound movements. So I just like to do hyperextensions. You can do them on a machine, you can do them on the bench, get them nice and slow with a bit of weight on, and you're going to strengthen that lower back. And it's really helpful for other compound movements. A lot of injuries come from a weaker lower back. So just strengthening that is really good. It will also give you a little bit of definition down the side. So that's pretty ideal as well. But the point is, you just want a good mix of mid and upper and lower back. That's what it is. If you were to not understand what we talked about at the start with the kind of grips, you'd probably be just targeting your lats and your mid back, and you'd be getting really wide, but you'd be getting no definition up here. So understand that overhand is always going to target the upper back and get you that definition. And underhand is going to get you that width. It's why I'd always recommend underhand pull downs. They're really, really good to just target your lats a bit more. I know it's a bit weird. The overhand is called a lat pull down, right? But I don't know, it targets a little bit more of your upper back. So understand that and maybe just steal this split. It really does the job. It's worked wonders for me and it works wonders for Dorian Yates. So I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next, pro tips. Right. Control the negative. So I say this of everything. It's not about how much weight you can lift, it's about how much you can lower. So with every single exercise, whether it's a barbell row, whether it's a pull down, your goal is to really, really focus on pulling that positive phase and then controlling the negative. And like we said at the start, when you're coming down, you're getting that squeeze, but then you're really, really slowly controlling the negative up. If you can't do that, you need to drop the weight because those correct form reps are going to be so much more beneficial than just trying to move anything and everything. It doesn't really work. So don't do that. Next is training to failure. And this is a bit of bro science, but I say drop set everything. I believe in order to stimulate enough muscle growth, you need to train really hard and push yourself to failure. Now, I'm pretty good at this. I can do that. Not everyone can. And sometimes you even need a training partner. Sometimes I need a training partner to help me get those extra reps. And we don't always have that. So in that case, it's a good idea to drop set pretty much every exercise in the last set. So let's say we're doing a pull down, milk that, get as many reps out, literally get to the point where you can't do another one. And then when you can't do another, drop the weight by 20, same again, drop by 20, same again. Keep doing that. And then you're going to keep stimulating enough growth. And then as long as you've got your sleep and your nutrition right, you're going to recover and you're just going to keep getting stronger. It's really that simple. So the next I'd say is attachment. So we've got cuffs and we've got straps. Cuffs are really, really good. They're not really necessary at the start, but if you really want to improve and take this seriously, cuffs are really good for sort of reverse delt flies. So when you're doing this kind of machine, this kind of movement, what tends to happen is when you're on the cables, right, you've got to grab like the little handle where there's no attachment on, right? That little ball thing. And the point is, once you lift a certain weight, your hands start to slip and then also your forearm starts to give out. So it's never ideal, right? However, if you get the cuffs and you just put your hand through that, you don't actually have to squeeze anything. You can literally just go like that. And as a result, you can get like 5-6 reps more. And as a result, that just grows your back so much more quicker because that stacks up. So it's a £10 investment, but it will really, really help grow your back. Ever since I implemented that, I've seen my rear delts pop, and as a result, my physique is looking pretty fucking good. So cuffs, number one. Next, we've got straps. Now, again, I brought these in pretty late in my training career. I wouldn't recommend them at the start, believe it or not, just because it's quite nice to progress on the barbell row, just holding the bar, because you actually get quite a lot of forearm growth. I think I owe a lot of my forearm growth to simply gripping a heavy weight on the bar. Don't get used to straps too early because then you won't benefit from that. And then you'll have to be one of those guys who fucking trains forearms in the gym. Like, who wants to do that? Just lift heavy compound shit and your forearms will grow naturally. But once you get onto the 90 kg, 100 kg barbell row, there will come a point where not only your hands start to slip, but your forearm and your grip is going to start to fail. And it's not your back's fault, it's just your forearm and your grip. So as a result, the straps, figure of eights or whatever, just wrap them round. And it means you get those extra reps like we talked about. If you get those extra reps and you stack them and you keep doing that, and it's going to help you massively. So that's really important. Next, cable pullovers. We talked about this at the start. Always begin with them. Like, no matter what you do, just always begin with cable pullovers. It's the only way to pre-exhaust your lats. And if you pre-exhaust your lats, you have a really, really good session because you know every subsequent exercise is hitting failure because of the muscle you're targeting, not because of your bicep, not because of your forearm. It's because you've pre-exhausted your lats at the start of the workout. Next, we've got rear delts first. So I only recently started doing this. However, it's a really, really good tip. I think a lot of guys leave rear delts to the end, including myself. And I started training them at the start. And what I noticed is by training anything at the start of the workout, they become more pronounced. Sorry, I had to pause it. There's a fucking dog on a mission over there. I will continue though, regardless of that twat. However, rear delts at the start, it's a big part of your physique. It's a big part of your back. So we do want to target this at the start. If you leave a certain muscle group towards the end, and I use legs and calves as an example, you will not train them with the right intensity that is necessary for them to grow. For example, why are most guys' calves small? It's because everyone leaves them to the end where they most likely skip them, like we all do, or we don't train them with enough intensity and enough heavy weight because we're so tired from the other exercises. So if you want a nice, pronounced, well-rounded back, it might be in your interest to just start with rear delts, just to mix it up a little bit. And as a result, they will start to grow, and then your physique will look a little bit more full. It will look a bit more well-rounded, and that's kind of what we want. So a really good tip that I've started to use, and as a result, my rear delts have started to come up, they've started to grow, and that thickness is starting to come through again on the back. So really good tip if you're not, seeing that growth you want to see. Next, pull-ups. Now, I don't use pull-ups. You'll notice it's not in the routine. However, I fucking abuse them at the start. My beginning of the gym involved a lot of fucking pull-ups. I mean, I got that pull-up bar still in my room over there. I had a pull-up bar and I just kept smashing them out. Bang, 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 every single night. No recovery. Who cares? Pull-ups, pull-ups, pull-ups. And then eventually when I got back into the gym after COVID or whatever, I just kept doing the pull-ups. But it got to a point where I actually just maxed them out. Like I was doing like 20, 25, and like there wasn't really much progression. I could have obviously put more weight on there, but I didn't have one of those weightlifting belts, and I found it was a bit of a ball ache, so I just took it out. However, if you're just getting started or you don't actually do pull-ups, I would say get the most out of them. Get yourself to like 20, 25, 30 reps on there. Just like really abuse the pull-ups, and they will just grow you back massively. Because especially if you're gaining more size and you're in a bulk, you're gaining more muscle, they will become progressively harder because you're lifting heavier weight because yourself is growing. So I wouldn't neglect them at all. They're really, really useful. But yeah, those are the pro tips I could give you after a good amount of time training my back. And I'd like to say some good growth. I'm not going to gas myself up too much here, but come on, look at that. Pretty much no width, no definition to this photo over here. So I must have been doing something right. And it just comes down to these tips, right? 1, pull through the elbows. Don't get that fucking bicep pump. Leave your isolations to the end. Compounds. What you should be doing, getting that stretch, getting that squeeze, making sure that you are using a weight that allows you to do so. If you cannot do this and then squeeze for 2 seconds and then slowly lower all the way down, then you are lifting too heavy and you need to leave your ego at the door. Stop doing that. Bring the weight down and then slowly progress your way back up. Target all the muscle groups. Remember, from now on, there are no lats, there are no rhomboids. There is upper, mid, and lower. And we target these using different grips, overhand and underhand. Follow my exact training split. I want you to screenshot that. I can send you the exact program of the reps and sets. It might not apply to everyone because I train in a weird way. However, those are the exercises I do, so steal them. And there's your pro tips. Negatives, drops everything. Get some attachments. Begin with cable pullovers. Rear delts first if you're lacking, and don't neglect pull-ups. But yeah, 17 minutes. That's a quick video, I'd like to say, on growing your back. That's everything I know about growing my back. And I think if you use those and you really are struggling, you'll start to see growth very, very quickly. It all comes with having the right nutrition and sleep in place as well. Obviously, this is going to be considerably better in a surplus. So if you're bulking at the moment, this is for you. But even if you're cutting or whatever and you just want to grow more, use these tips. This is really going to help you. And as a result, you will grow a larger, thicker back and maybe even double your growth like I did. Who knows? So yeah, everything for today. If you need anything, just message me on Instagram or drop me a comment. I can walk you through the program, give you some extra tips, whatever you need. Just let me know. But yeah, that's today done. And I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.